This is the News 4 Rundown.
And welcome in, everybody. I'm Jim Adley. It's Thursday, January 8th, and we have a lot to get to tonight, but we want to begin this evening with an all too familiar feeling. Outrage tonight in Minneapolis, a day after an ICE officer shot and killed an unarmed woman. The agents were there as part of President Trump's immigration crackdown. And while their mission was to remove what the White House calls dangerous individuals, they killed an American citizen who was said to be part of a protest against ICE's deployment in her city. Today, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and Vice President J.D. Vance called the shooting justified.
That were inciting.
The officer was following his training.
He did follow his training because of an individual that was
point blank into a driver's window. Is that part of the training? How is that self-defense?
This is an experienced officer who followed his training, and we will continue to let the investigation unfold into the individual and continue to follow the procedures and policies that happen.
The reason this woman is dead is because she tried to ram somebody with her car, and that guy acted in self-defense. That is why she lost her life.
Here in the district, demonstrators shut down 14th and U streets in Northwest D.C. this evening, protesting ICE enforcement across the country. That group now appears to be marching toward the White House. We saw similar demonstrations last night at the ICE headquarters in Southwest, stemming from yesterday's deadly shooting in Minneapolis. And this is not the first or even the second time that city has been rocked by the killing of one of its citizens by law enforcement. Let's go back 10 years. July 2016, Philando Castile was killed in a traffic stop by local police while his girlfriend and 4-year-old daughter hopelessly watched from the passenger and back seat. Castile reached toward a weapon that he had told the responding officer he had on him, and he was carrying it legally. The officer who pulled the trigger was acquitted. 4 years later, May 2020, a video many of us will never forget when a Minneapolis police officer pinned his knee to George Floyd's neck for 9 minutes, 29 seconds, killing Floyd and sparking more civil unrest in the city and across the country. Accusations of Floyd using counterfeit $20 bills led to his death. One of the officers involved is currently in jail until at least 2038. The 3 others have all been released from prison. And that brings us to yesterday's killing of Renee Good. Less than a mile from where Floyd was killed, there's a stark difference from the unarmed black men who were murdered in her city. She was killed at the hands of federal officers, many in the Twin Cities, including the city's mayor, said that ICE was only there to cause chaos. Now, once again, they're thrown in the middle of another heated debate in the national spotlight. There is an awful lot to unpack from yesterday's shooting, and joining us tonight to discuss the ramifications is T.J. Smith. He's a former Anne Arundel County Police Commander and former Chief Spokesperson for Baltimore Police Department. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Smith. First of all, we've all been watching the different angles of what happened yesterday in Minneapolis. Tell us what you saw and if you believe the officer's life was in danger.
Yeah, the video is obviously heartbreaking. You don't want any police or federal authorities to want to kill anyone. But when you see the video and a lot of the discourse that we see online, you saw the wheels turn. In that heat of the moment, the police aren't looking at that. How I describe this is I do radio now full time here in Baltimore, and I describe this to the audience today as lawful but awful. Doesn't mean that it's a situation that there should not be any layers of accountability. However, as we look at this situation, I think you can talk to 100 people, 100 police officers, and you might get 100 different answers as to how they would have handled it. But it's one of those scenarios where you can get skilled law enforcement officers say, I would have gotten out of the way. But I think some of the concern that comes in is that local police officers are the ones that are going to have to deal with the aftermath of events like this. And we're hearing about the breaking news out of Portland, where 2 more individuals were shot by federal authorities. And right here in Maryland, in Glen Burnie, just a month ago, we saw federal authorities shoot someone, but they survived. This one's a bit different because, of course, this person died. But at the same time, I think people have to take a step back, take a breath, and recognize the fact that everyone in this scenario has a duty and responsibility to de-escalate the situation so it doesn't rise to an occasion like this.
So well put. Vice President J.D. Vance, we heard earlier today, called this tragedy of the driver's own making. But I'm curious what you make of the tactics that the officers employed before the shooting.
No, I mean, I think that the federal government officials have been saying way too much so soon without getting all of the information. Yes, you see all of the videos that we've seen, and there's some question about what happened after she was shot. We heard a physician in the background trying to render aid. So that'll be part of an investigation. And all of these police departments around the country have worked hard to try to bridge the gap between the community and law enforcement. And some of what you described earlier leading into this segment are part of the reason for that. And there's been so much that's happened over the last several years that's been good in communities. They don't need setbacks from federal officers who are kind of there for a temporary moment and then they're going to leave. So when you look at this situation, let the investigation play out. Find out what happened in the beginning, before the videos started rolling. Find out what happened after the fact and look at all of that. But again, I'm not downplaying any of what occurred because, again, I do think the de-escalation from even the officers in this case could have saved this woman's life. And people will say, well, he could have moved out of the way. But we also have to look at the fact that it was a vehicle that could have been going in the direction of a police officer. And I say the lawful but awful because you don't have to like what you saw and you can look at it and say it could have been handled differently. However, in this situation, I think when it's all said and done, they're going to find this as a justified shooting based on what I'm seeing from the video, because again, the officer could have been shot, could have been run over. And again, was that the intent of the driver? Likely not. I think we all can maybe agree that that wasn't her intent, but then you have to ask the question, why not just pull over and let them do whatever it is they're going to do? Or do you recognize that you're getting in the midst of law enforcement activity and that can cause additional problems and escalate things?
And as you well know, the FBI is taking over this investigation of the incident. Is that unusual to cut out the local officers, state officials too, from investigating something that happened in their city and state? And are those departments legally required to comply?
No, you know, it's the FBI. I'm not surprised that they're handling this investigation. Again, there are examples in local jurisdictions where federal law enforcement fired shots or maybe even killed people, and the local officials did a joint investigation. This should be a joint investigation. What we heard from Governor Tim Walz in Minnesota was that they aren't getting information from the federal government. That is not at all how this should happen. And quite frankly, because of the politics involved on the side of the state of Minnesota and the federal government, this probably needs to be deconflicted to someone else other than the officials in Minnesota or the federal government at this point. I don't know how we do that, but something like that probably needs to happen to give a fair investigation to make sure that there is justice that's doled out for the person who died and her family and the officer so that it's looked at in a fair way.
TJ Smith, we want to thank you for your insights and perspective this evening, and thanks for taking time with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Here in the district, a D.C. Council report released today is critical of the way the Bowser administration has worked with federal immigration enforcement. News 4's Mark Seagraves has the mayor's reaction to the report and her strong words for ICE.
If we don't want ICE in our communities, we have to stop funding ICE.
D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser speaking out against ICE in D.C. and cities across the country after being asked about the killing of an unarmed woman by an ICE agent in Minneapolis.
What I saw, to me, it just is reflected when you have people who are unaccustomed to urban policing trying to police in an urban environment. And what it looked to me like very bad, and I'm not a police officer, I'm not in law enforcement, but what I saw was completely avoidable, and a woman died. ICE is patrolling American cities. If we don't want that, the Congress has to stop funding ICE, because thousands of agents who are untrained to police in urban environments are on our streets.
What happened in Minneapolis yesterday is similar to two recent incidents here in D.C., where federal agents opened fire on drivers who the agents claimed were trying to strike them with their vehicles. In those cases, no one was injured. Interim Police Chief Carroll was asked about public concern it might happen here again.
A lot of these individuals, they don't work in urban policing, so us working with federal authorities in the policing operations, being out there, actually helps us to make sure that we can work in those areas to help control what's going on. Obviously, I can't assure you of anything. Obviously, I can assure you is every situation is different, right, that officers encounter out there. But I think having the relationship and having the federal authorities working with the officers does help to mitigate some of the challenges that we have with that.
All this comes as D.C. Councilmember Brianne Nadeau released a scathing report today critical of how MPD and the Bowser administration have cooperated with federal immigration enforcement.
Primary finding is the loss of trust between the public and MPD. The challenge that we're finding is that the mayor and the chief's interpretation of the Sanctuary Values Act has opened up a vulnerability whereby they are essentially cooperating with ICE in a manner that does not match with the intent of the law.
We don't have any comment on that. Anything else?
Chief Carroll added that he has not decided whether to make any changes to MPD policies on cooperating with immigration enforcement. In the district, Mark Seagraves, News 4.
Last month, Councilmember Brooke Pinto sent a letter to the chief requesting detailed answers to several questions related to MPD's cooperation with federal law enforcement. Interim Chief Jeffrey Carroll said today he will provide a response which is due to the council by tomorrow. We have much more coming up tonight on the Rundown, including an investigation into resident complaints by the News 4 I-Team.
Yeah, hey Jim, I'm Ted Ober for the News 4 I-Team. Ahead on the Rundown, there have been police calls for alleged harassment, robbery, even a death. Residents of a new type of housing community for LGBTQ plus members of the community in the district say it's not what they signed up for. One of them even telling us it's a big lie. So what's the management of this place saying about the complaint? It's next.
And we have a pattern change on the way, getting some much needed rain as we close out the week. So coming up, I'm timing out the rain chance hour by hour so you can make those weekend plans.
And Jessica, we're also live in St. Louis as night 2 of the U.S. Figure Skating Championships gets underway. Fairfax's Ilya Malinin set to take to the ice tonight. We'll have a preview coming up.
When it opened last spring, Mayor Muriel Bowser called Mary's House for Older Adults in D.C. a model for the entire city. While it's not a city-managed facility, her administration loaned the owner of the home almost $1 million of your dollars to make a safe space for aging members of the LGBT community. Just a few months later, some residents are telling the News 4 I-Team they think that promise was an empty one. They spoke to Ted Oberg and our team about harassment allegations, police calls, and even a death at the home you helped pay for.
2, 3. On the day he moved into Mary's House for Older Adults, Wes Pinkney was ecstatic.
Opening day was beautiful.
The 71-year-old D.C. resident told the News 4 I-Team he'd worked with the founder of Mary's House, Dr. Imani Woody, for years to make her dream a reality, and he finally felt like he was home.
This is a place for the residents of Washington, D.C., LGBTQ plus same gender loving, to have a safe space.
Mary's House in Southeast D.C. was designed, according to its founder and their website, to be D.C.'s first affordable LGBTQ plus affirming communal living space for adults 60 and over.
That's how I felt. I clicked my heels 3 times.
But just weeks later, the man who says he clicked his heels like Dorothy on opening day felt like he was in the midst of that tornado instead of safely at home.
3 weeks later.
Serious?
Yeah. Because what I saw was there were straight people in the house. We got 9 straight people and 5 gay folks.
It wasn't their orientation that Pinkney says bothered him, though he was surprised about the makeup of the communal home.
The city will say, well, we can't discriminate against straight people.
just like we can't discriminate against members of the LGBTQ plus community. So the people who moved in are the people who moved in.
Well, I'll say this much. There's a tug of war.
Wes and a former Mary's House staffer told the I-Team some of the non-LGBTQ plus residents told them they were never informed about Mary's House focus on that community. It seemed to have lacked a little bit of the care and nurture that you would think that typically went into something like this, that former program manager told the I-Team. A representative for Mary's House responded, "It is illegal to discriminate based on sexual identity, and that while the home was marketed as a safe space for the LGBTQ plus community, anyone can apply to live at Mary's House."
It's just not a friendly atmosphere. There's been homophobic little remarks here and there.
But the makeup of the home is not the only concern some residents worry about, like Sydney Robertson. How often are the police there?
They've been there a few times.
D.C. police and fire records show 11 visits to Mary's House since the end of April, 9 by police for reports of things like robbery, harassment, theft, and on June 20th, a dead body.
There was police and ambulances and everything all over the street.
Records from the D.C. Medical Examiner's Office show a man died from an overdose inside Mary's House. If you had a choice, you'd be somewhere
else. I'd be gone in a flat second. I'd be gone in 5 minutes after we stopped this.
Sydney tells us he too has experienced harassment and seen others harassed as well. Wes, Sydney, and that former staffer tell the I-Team they took their concerns to management and at times to the board of directors well before contacting the I-Team. In response, a Mary's House representative said resident council and property management work together to communicate as needed to address resident concerns. For weeks, the I-Team tried to talk to the people who built and run Mary's House. 2 of them agreed to an interview but never followed through. One of them later told us, "We take resident concerns seriously and are following the processes we've put in place to ensure the environment reflects the mission and values of Mary's House for older adults." We did ask to speak with other residents of Mary's House, but were told by a representative that the head of the resident circle would have to approve that. We never heard back from him. And the city was equally shy, didn't really want to talk to us, but did tell us Mary's House is not a city program, but we remain in communication with its leadership and are exploring additional ways to expand supportive programming, refer prospective LGBTQ residents, and assist current residents. Cold comfort for at least 2 residents who say they were promised so much more.
Welcome to Mary's House for older adults.
In a project the mayor bragged about on opening day.
This is a model for the whole city.
That was after her administration invested $1 million in Mary's House through a loan from D.C.'s Housing Production Trust Fund. Good investment?
No. It's just a lie.
Since our interview with Wes Pinkney, he has moved out of Mary's House for older adults, and that former program manager left as well, noting the lack of oversight and structure. A spokesperson for Mary's House said they did repay the loan from D.C.'s Housing Production Trust Fund, which was used for construction, but the city says its records don't show that repayment, at least as of now. Several other private corporations donated to Mary's House for older adults, including a one-time donation from our parent company, Comcast, in 2022 for digital skills training. But Jim, the question remains, is this what the residents were promised and what city residents thought they were using some of their money for?
And certainly not the model that a lot of people thought it was going to be.
That it could be. Maybe it's growing pains. We have to hope.
Yeah. All right. Ted, thanks so much for bringing us that story and shining a light on it. All right, let's turn to the weather now. A lot of sunshine today, but folks, it's out of here for a couple. Jessica?
We have some rain coming, kind of ending our streak of dry conditions along with the mild conditions. We're still mild for Friday and Saturday, but starting tomorrow, we introduce rain chances back into the forecast. Now, not at the start of the day. You'll head out the house. It'll be dry, a mix of sun and clouds, but you'll notice by lunchtime the clouds would have built. And then later into the afternoon, the kids getting off the school bus around 3 o'clock, we will have some light rain in the D.C. area. The kids will need an umbrella. And even for the evening commute, the roads looking wet around 5:30. The Beltway wet as well. That continues to move out And then we will be awaiting round two. Round two coming Saturday, filling up through Saturday morning. Light to moderate showers continue into the afternoon. Here's 2 o'clock, just a wall of water over the area. Going to be a rough go if you're trying to be out and about. So you may want to wait until after sunset. After sunset around 6 o'clock, we're looking much drier, and that will be the trend as we head into Sunday, where we'll get back to those dry conditions. Dry tonight, dropping near 40 degrees, a bit chilly, but increasing our temperatures near 60 for tomorrow, along with that rain chance. 58 degrees for the high for Saturday with that rainy day. The pick of the weekend looks to be Sunday, even though we're cooler and quite breezy, blustery actually, but we're back to dry conditions. Dry at the start of the new work week on Monday, but much colder. So we're chilly. Highs are only peaking into the 40s, around 44 degrees. And we do continue on with a dry streak for the first half of the work week. But a week from today, I am tracking a rain chance next Thursday with a high of 43.
Tonight, the U.S. Figure Skating Championships are underway, and they will be a major factor in determining who makes Team USA at the Winter Olympics. Fairfax County native Ilya Malinin is a lock for the Olympic team, but first he's hoping to defend his U.S. figure skating title. News 4's Jumi Alabanji joins us now live from St. Louis. Jumi, he is set to skate at the very end tonight, saving the biggest and best for last.
Yes, Jim, you're absolutely right. There are 18 men who are going to be competing in the short program that kicks off in just a few minutes, and Ilya Malinin is skating 18 out of 18, saving the best for last. As you mentioned, he's all but certain to make that Olympic team when it's announced on Sunday. But first, he has to defend his national title. He was on the ice earlier this afternoon, practicing, warming up, working on those quad jumps, those leaps and spins, everything he does that makes him the best in figure skating, which he is right now. And so for him, what he told us when we talked to him yesterday, it's all about feeling the ice, feeling his program out, and getting ready to compete. And you know, he is looking forward to Milan. He's looking forward to continuing the great legacy left by Nathan Chen at the Beijing Olympics 4 years ago when he brought home a gold medal for Team USA. And Ilya is looking to do the same thing. The men's competition getting ready to begin here. The ice dancing competition just ended, and so they're taking a bit of a break. The Zambonis are out. They're reworking that ice, so the men are set to begin any moment now. And of course, our viewers can watch that on USA and Peacock, but should be a great evening. Ilya is scheduled to hit the ice gym about 10:50 DC time, so make sure to tune in. Back to you.
Worth staying up for. All right, Jumi, thanks so much. Live in St. Louis for us. We'll be right back.
Hopefully you've been gliding into the new year, so why not keep going on some skates? See what I did there? The National Building Museum has their skate spectacular going on, and it is indoors. You get to skate on synthetic ice inside. They've got theme nights like a Y2K dance party, musicals, K-pop, and so much more. If you want to keep the inside thing going on, we got you. Just steps from the National Building Museum is the Capitol Jewish Museum, or the National Gallery of Art, or Cap One Arena, where the Wizards and Georgetown are playing this weekend.
I have some family members here, so it's the least I can do.
Or get your workout in and volunteer at the same time. It's that time again for Wreaths Out. Saturday morning, grab a broom, grab a hockey stick, grab a dog leash, and help collect those wreaths at Arlington National Cemetery. I've done it for many years with Sophia Barnes, our newsletter co-author, and meteorologist Clay Anderson joined us once as well.
I'm retired Air Force.
I did not know that.
20 years in 1 month.
You really feel like you're getting a lot done and doing something for a great cause. Plus, if you're thinking about or doing Dry January, a great local resource with national ideas is Zero Proof Nation. They've got things to drink, they've got things to enjoy, and they've got thoughts on Dry January to help you along if you're making it happen. I'm Tommy McFly. Have an awesome weekend.